Less than 1 week away from Selection Sunday. If you're not ready to do a push-up on a picket fence right now, it's real simple. You officially hate fun.
This is March. Chicken vodka wrap is to die for.
Welcome to Stuff with Jon Rothstein. Best player you don't know in college basketball.
We have a very high bar on this show. I've let myself go, I'll be 400 pounds. I just want to make sure I don't go all in on chocolate chip pancakes at the diner down the street. Forget about not sleeping until May. I may not sleep at all, but I wouldn't trade it for anything else. College hoops. Everything else is just secondary.
Who's ready to nosh? Welcome to Stuff with Jon Rothstein. It is the greatest time of the year. This is March. It's championship week. In just a couple minutes, we are going to hear from Iowa big man Luka Garza. But let's for a second think about how far we've come. It was just about 52 weeks ago that we saw the NCAA tournament for 2020 officially canceled. And now, 52 weeks later, we have bounced back. And this, to me, in a lot of different ways, is one of my favorite weeks of the year for many different reasons. But most of all, we don't know what storylines are going to emerge in college basketball. Who knew 10 years ago that Kemba Walker and UConn, after finishing 9-9 in the Big East, would go on to win 5 consecutive games in the Big East tournament and then 6 consecutive games in the NCAA tournament to win a national championship? Who knew 3 years later, that same program, led by Shabazz Napier, UConn, would lose, in the American Athletic Conference regular season finale to Louisville by 33 points, get a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament, and then go on to win the national championship. This is why March is the greatest month in sports. We've got unbelievable conference tournaments coming down the pike, and most of all, we have a lot to be excited about coming up over the next couple of weeks in Indianapolis for one of the greatest, most unique NCAA tournaments that we have obviously looked forward to in our lifetimes. And one of the main cogs in that NCAA tournament will be the best player in the country, Luka Garza. And I think when you look at Iowa and you look at Luka Garza, they are a team and a program that has a chance to do something that it hasn't done in 4 decades, since 1980, get to a Final Four. We now welcome in the best player in college basketball to Stuff, longtime Iowa Hawkeye, the big man from the Big Ten. He is Luka Garza. And Luka, we know Iowa has been playing its best basketball of the season as of late. But my question is, with so many games, how do you make time for The Bachelor?
You always got to find some time. Mondays, Connor McCaffrey's a big fan of it, so we make sure we watch him. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, who are your picks going to be, obviously, for the wrap-up of that season? Because I know before you think about your NCAA tournament seed, you got to think about what's going to wrap up with The Bachelor.
I think a lot of my friends like the spoilers, so, I kind of already know who wins, but it's still kind of fun to watch the process.
Well, let's get, obviously, to your basketball team right now as the calendar has officially shifted to March. Iowa obviously playing its best basketball of the season. What's changed for you and your team over the last couple of weeks?
I think the biggest thing for our team over these last couple of weeks is just the improvement on defense. I think we've taken it to another level on that end, and it's allowed us to consistently get stops throughout a game, and that's when we're at our best. I think during that little stretch where we dropped a couple games, our offense would have a drought at some point, and our defense couldn't get enough stops to keep us in the game. So our ability to continue to get stops when our offense isn't scoring, that's what's going to take us to the next level, and that's what's helped us over these last couple games.
And Luka, that's been a criticism and a critique of Iowa for a long time, that, Iowa's a great offensive team, but they don't compete on both sides of the floor. How much do both you and your teammates take that personally?
We definitely did, because it was never like we weren't playing hard enough on that end. We were putting in the effort. I think we just weren't connected enough, on that side. And I think we're starting to really get connected on that side and learn, when to help the helper, when all this other things, we're communicating a lot better. And I think that is what's helping us.
And Luka, one of the times where your defense was really tested this season was the game that you played in December against Gonzaga. How much was that game a true litmus test for both you and your team in terms of where this team has to go if it wants to accomplish the things that it dreams of accomplishing?
I think that game showed us a lot. I think, we were able to score 88 points while shooting 4 for 22 from 3. So I think it showed us how special our offense is. But, we gave up 99 points, and you're not going to be able to win, giving up that many points. And obviously Gonzaga is a talented offensive team, and they have an array of guys who can score the ball. But we know that, if we were able to get a couple more stops in that game, we scored enough points to win the game. So, for us, that was motivation going forward, knowing that, if we can get stops, we can score on anybody. So our ability to get stops is what's going to, take us, to where we want to go.
And obviously getting stops leads to great joy, because that means you're probably going to have a better chance of success. And according to my well-embedded moles within the Iowa program, they told me that you were overjoyed and excited a couple of weeks ago when your team had a dominant performance against Michigan State, and you personally didn't have one of your better individual games. How have you been able to put yourself in a situation where your own production doesn't dictate your happiness?
I think, the biggest thing for me when I decided to come back was, I came back to win games. I didn't come back to score points. I didn't come back to win awards. I came back to win games and win championships. So, for us to be able to go to Michigan State and win in the way we did, and we saw what happened, when 2 other top 5 teams went up there, the next week. That's the type of team Michigan State is. They can beat those caliber teams. So for us to put on that performance, in East Lansing is, it's crazy. I remember I played there twice before, and we lost both times. So, it was just an unbelievable experience. And to see all of our guys just play the way they did, Jack Nungy was unbelievable. We had a lot of guys who really stepped up, and, I think they really keyed in on me throughout the game, like a lot of teams do. And, I was trying to move the ball around and get some good shots for our guys. And, those guys were going. So, I think, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, Luka, that's a very humble response by somebody who, again, is just, a college senior. Who taught Luka Garza to exude humility?
I think, my parents, I think my mother and my father, taught that to me when I was really young. Just, taught me to always work hard and to never get too high or never get too low on anything. And just to stay humble throughout and just, be thankful. And I'm really thankful and grateful that I'm here at the University of Iowa with the team that I have and the coaches that I have. And they've put me in a lot of positions to be successful.
Well, obviously, you've put that humility into a situation where you've had an unbelievable career. You're one of the best players in the history of the Big Ten, obviously in position to be the National Player of the Year. But you're also somebody that's always working to refine your craft. And I know you've talked openly about the fact that you study old players on VHS. Which players have you studied that you've added to your repertoire?
I think there are a lot of guys. I think, when you talk about Jack Slickman, his ability to, use that pivot to open and see the floor, I think that's been one of the biggest things for me this year, especially against, the defenses that I face. Being able to see the floor, see where the double team's coming from, it makes it a lot harder on the defense. I can, try to pick it apart or, find a way to score. So I think that's one of the biggest ways. And, I think, as a leader and as a player, I watched a lot of Bill Walton this summer, and just his ability to win games at UCLA and how he did it, and his energy on both ends, his ability to rebound. I think those are 2 guys that I really, focused in on this summer. And I think obviously Hakeem Olajuwon is someone always I look at, just his footwork in the post and his ability to, use spins and different things to, create openings. And, obviously Kevin McHale, who, is similar to me in terms of not being the most athletic guy, but his ability to create openings with his feet and his movements in the post led him to be one of the best post players of all time.
Luka, I know that it took me a very long time to switch from VHS to DVD and then DVD to Netflix, and I got my chops broken all the time by my friends. Do people break your chops because you're still watching old VHSs?
No, I don't think so. But, I think YouTube has helped as well. When I'm not home, I'm still able to see some things on YouTube and different things like that. But no, I think, those are the classics. You can't move away from that. There's nothing, really that's going to replace that for me and that feeling when I was a kid of watching those tapes.
Well, obviously, those have helped you become the player that you are, the leader that you are, the producer that you are. But, I got to tell you, I've been saying this for weeks right now. Everybody knew that Iowa had Luka Garza, one of the best players in the country. But Joe Wieskamp is one of the best players in college basketball that not a lot of people talk about. He's got great size for his position. He's a great shooter. He can rebound. How under the radar is this guy as we get set right now to shift to the postseason?
You know, it's crazy to me that people aren't really recognizing it. I mean, the guy is shooting 50% from three. You know, you don't see that very often, especially at the volume that he shoots at. And you know, his ability to knock down shots and be consistent this year it's tremendous. You know, you've seen his growth over, you know, his first 2 years here, and he's just been dominant for us and really helping me and taking the pressure off me when those double teams come, because he's really just making them pay. And you know, I think when he's playing at that level, you know, we're a different team. And I think the one thing that people don't talk about enough is his rebounding. You know, I think our defense has improved a lot, and I think especially because we're not giving up second chance points. And his ability to go in there and get some rebounds, it's awesome, and it helps me out when I'm boxing out a bigger guy, and he can grab the rebound and we can get off to our fast break. So, you know, I'm very thankful to play with a player like him, and he should be talked about a lot more. You're right.
And obviously, you know, you need great players to win meaningful games in March. And, you know, for the postseason this year, it's going to be a little bit different because you're going to go to one location, Indianapolis, hopefully for a very long stretch in March and early April. What is the mindset like going to one location right now, not just for the Big Ten tournament, but also the NCAA tournament?
You know, I think it's awesome. You know, I think we have a chance to, you know, be in one place and be really focused together and, you know, ready to, you know, stay for a long trip. You know, we're packing for a long trip. We're going to work hard. We're going to play as hard as we can and make sure that we make the most out of this opportunity. And obviously, you know, I think a lot of teams share that feeling of not having March Madness last year and what that motivation brings. So for us, you know, we know we're one of those teams who missed out last year and is excited for this opportunity that's in front of us.
You mentioned having the cancellation of the NCAA tournament last year. For you personally, what was that like when you found out that there wasn't going to be the NCAA tournament?
You know, it was a crazy feeling. You know, I think, you know, when I was a little kid, I always dreamed of playing in the NCAA tournament. And when I got to Iowa, you know, unfortunately, we weren't good enough to make that happen. And we were 14 and 19, and that was one of the biggest goals that I had in college. Was I wanted to play in a tournament all 4 years. So I think, you know, we really focused and made sure, you know, we made created an opportunity for ourselves, you know, my sophomore year, and we were obviously in overtime away from the Sweet 16. And then not having that opportunity last year, it was heartbreaking. But, you know, I think that just, you know, fueled, you know, me and this team with a lot of motivation for this year and this opportunity. And hopefully we're going to make the most of it.
You know, I've talked, obviously, to your head coach, Fran McCaffrey, about this a lot. You know, he's taken, you know, a slew of teams to the NCAA tournament in his career. He was very close to going to the Sweet 16 when he was at Siena many years ago when you were just a young kid. He obviously had that tough loss to Tennessee a couple years ago at Iowa. Everybody wants to go on a deep NCAA tournament run for obvious reasons. But for you personally, how much do you want to do that for Coach McCaffrey?
You know, I love Coach McCaffrey, and I think he really changed my life, you know, by recruiting me and believing in me. And so, you know, it would mean the world to me to be able to, you know, lead one of his teams, you know, on a deep run in March. You know, I think, you know, not only for, you know, myself and him, but for, you know, all our guys. I think we all have dreamed about this moment, and I think we all know, you know, that we're good enough to do that, and we have the potential to be able to do that. So, you know, I think it's just going to take us being consistent, you know, in our defense. Honestly, you know, if we can get stops, you know, we're going to make a run because our offense is high level.
Well, we've seen obviously the shift to the defensive side of the floor for Iowa here in the last couple weeks. It's been 41 years since Iowa has played in the Final Four. I know there's a lot of basketball left to be played before you can be in that type of a position, you know, for this season. But for Luka Garza, whether he is, you know, doing a workout, whether he's going for a walk on campus or hanging out in the practice facility, how often does Luka Garza think about taking Iowa to a Final Four?
You know, I've thought about it, you know, ever since I, you know, committed to the University of Iowa. That was one of the things that, you know, I talked to Coach about on the phone, was that, you know, I wanted to be a part of a Final Four team. You know, I wanted to be a part of a team that made a deep run in March, and, you know, he reciprocated those feelings. Obviously, you know, we're all winners, we're all competitors, and we want to make it as far as we can. So, you know, I think, with the potential of this group, we know, that could be our future, and we have to go out there and take it, and I think we're going to be able to do that.
Well, what are the biggest keys between obviously now and the depths of the NCAA tournament for Iowa to be in a position to be one of 4 teams playing on April 3rd?
I think, like I've said throughout this, I think the biggest key, is our defense, and I think that also speaks to, our connectedness and what that has to be. When we face adversity, when our shots aren't falling, what are we reacting like? How are we acting as a team? I think that is the biggest thing. I think, in moments of adversity, we have to be able to come together and push through, because there's no, we just had a bad night. If you had a bad night, your season's over. So, you have to play with a sense that, it's almost like a desperation. You want to keep your season alive. And so that's the biggest thing. So if we play like that and understand that, our ability to get stops is what's going to, take us to, where we want to go, I think we'll be successful.
Luka, your story's been well documented. You did not obviously come into high school or your latter years of high school as the top-ranked player in basketball. You've worked for everything you've had in your life. If you can take Iowa to a Final Four, as somebody who is a Drake fanatic, do you think in your first interview post-game you're going to tell America, started from the bottom, now we're here?
I think I might have to, especially being, literally the bottom of the Big Ten my freshman year. I think, that actually could be something I could say. That would be funny.
Well, Luka, final thing, on this show, for me, food is a big part of my life. I know the last time we did one of these interviews, you talked about this phyllo dough pizza that you loved, I think, across the pond in Europe when you went over there the last time. If you could have one meal, one place after taking Iowa to a Final Four, where would it be? What would it be?
So I'm gonna do a similar answer, but a little bit different. I'm gonna have Chavapi, and I think I'm gonna have that. Just honestly, at Carver Hawkeye Arena. I think that's gonna be my place. But no, Chavapi is it's kind of a rolled ground beef kind of dish. It looks like sausage, but it's meat. It's beef, and it's really good. You serve it with some warm bread. And Kaimak and Ivar and different sauces with onions and stuff like that, and that's also one of my favorite. It's done on the grill, and when it's done over there, it's amazing. But if my mother can make it, I think I'd love to eat at the University of Iowa if we make a run like that.
Well, Luka, we appreciate your time, know how busy you are. Congratulations, regardless of what happens in the future, on an outstanding career. You've been a tremendous ambassador, not just for Iowa, but also for college basketball. So stay positive, test negative, and again, thanks for joining us here today on Stuff.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to be on this show.
Luka Garza in Iowa are a man and a program with a dream. And that is what hundreds of student athletes and players will have over the next couple of weeks. And that's who this is about. Players were robbed a year ago of the opportunity to paint on a blank canvas, to be a part of the greatest spectacle that we have in sports, the NCAA tournament. People like Obi Toppin, Miles Powell, Malachi Flynn, Trey Landers, they were robbed of an opportunity to showcase their talent, their skill, their will, their desire in the greatest event that we have in sports. But we have a funny thing going on right now in our country. We have a funny thing going on right now in our sport. People are extra resilient. People have made extra sacrifices to get to this position, to be 5 days away from unveiling a bracket for the 2021 NCAA tournament. And that's what we have on the horizon. And if that can't get you super excited, if that can't get you in a situation where you want to do a push-up on a picket fence, as I said when we opened the show, then you officially hate fun. College basketball has always been unpredictable. College basketball has always been where the unexpected becomes the ordinary. But college basketball is about to take you also on a path and on a journey that we've never seen before. An NCAA tournament during a once-in-a-century global pandemic. And the next time I talk to you, we are going to have a bracket. And the next time I talk to you, it's going to be 68 teams with a dream. And those 68 teams will play 67 games during an 18-day stretch in Indianapolis to crown one national champion. We'll talk next week. There's only 4 words to describe that type of a sprint. We sleep in May. Stay positive, test negative, and remember, in the airport of life, college basketball is the Delta Sky Club.